herself. Got it.
Is that Mariah?
I did it, yeah. I'm the host, Mike. I have all the power, not you.
The unseen one behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Got it.
Ooh, that's right.
That thing disappeared.
Don't look at that man behind the curtain.
They finally came and let us in. We were soaked.
Excellent. Good job. All right, we'll bring the meeting to order at whatever time you say it is, Mariah.
6:07.
So 7. Pretty likely road reports first. So let's start with the road report.
Well, the sand is moving right along. We're down to 700 yards yet to come.
Out of how many?
4,000.
Pretty good. Cool.
And order to cover Larry's being over there loading, we're going to pick up some extra sand that we will haul ourselves instead of hiring somebody to do it.
That's for Pickett's to reimburse us basically for Larry.
For Larry being there loading.
Yeah, because Larry has the whatever permit to be in the quarry.
Yeah, well, I have one too, but Larry's the loader operator over there.
Anyway, that's why we're doing it.
Yeah.
They needed someone.
Well, so Larry himself would be hauling, and we just added one more truck to our roster. I had Larry picking and hauling instead of loading, and it just makes more sense to the whole gig is try to get it over as quick as possible.
Yeah. So do you think you'll be able to finish it next week?
Yeah, I think they'll be able to finish it.
How many loads you get in a day, or how many yards you get in a day?
Oh, it really averages widely because one day it's only 2 trucks, and then one day there's 5 trucks, and then there's 4 trucks, and so it averages quite widely to I mean, I guess we moved as much as 700 yards one day.
Pretty good fun.
Yeah, I passed everybody one day,
and
they were all coming north.
like today we moved 300 and something.
Yeah,
it was great.
So it gets to be a little challenging, and then we have our normal problems with this and that.
What kind of permit is it called? That loading permit?
MSHA.
What does that mean?
Mining.
Just means you've been to a safety class.
Mining, something like that.
So it's also if you run the loader in Tunbridge at all?
We don't need one, but
okay.
But at a pit where the public shows up, you need to have these.
So it doesn't fall on people when they're.
Well, you're not allowed to let them get that close.
Okay. So that thing about snowboarding off the edge is just a rumor.
it's okay.
That's the first I heard about it, so I guess it's
No,
okay.
it's over in Bethel, so it's okay.
That's in the wintertime. And you're gonna get some more material. Were you gonna try to get some from Barry or something? Because we usually get more than 4,000 yards.
Well, last year we had a fairly light winter, even though the mud season was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And so we didn't use as much. And yes, I would love to have you allow us to go to Barry and get a couple load of that granite gravel, just so we can experiment a little bit with it.
And I think you ought to get 100 yards or something.
And just so we could experiment a little bit on how it freezes and how it this and that forms. And but
we've never experimented.
Not with that stuff,
yeah.
But other people told us if you don't mix something brown with it, people don't believe you've sanded it either.
Yeah.
So
Well, you got plenty of brown.
yeah. And so that was something I wanted to bring up and talk to you about, is we trying a couple loads, and, whatever. And
How much is that a yard?
That's a good question. I don't know yet.
Well, I guess work on it and come back to us before winter time.
because, you know, I just basically, if I use, I have a marker that tells me how much sand usually gets me through the winter.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much the pile is always, I don't use tape measures so much on the pile. 30 paces is what I've set for a standard every year. And which works out to 80 feet.
Mhm.
And we're within 7 feet of making that gold with what we
The
got.
pyramid. What's your ballpark and how much sand we used last winter, for example?
Well, I think pile usually has between what we put up at the garage and what we have there. I'm guessing the pile measures out close to 8,000 yards.
Wow.
And you know, and we probably had a easy 3 left in there this year. And but on the flip side of the coin, people talk about, can you cut back on sand? And I just don't know how you do that when a half an inch of snow today means it ain't sanded. It's that kind of snow that comes out of the sky now.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Or freezing.
And then again, and then again, and then.
Right.
so it's pretty hard to tell you how many times through the winter that's going to happen to you. So you have to be prepared. If you don't use it, you don't use it.
Right.
Or West Tunbridge rings off the hook.
Yeah. I assume you're taking Thursday off next week for the fair?
This week, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, this, yeah.
Whoa, yeah,
And
coming right up. It's here.
my son's going to be up from Georgia
Nice.
all next week. So I pretty much, my wife's taking the week off, and I pretty much told her I'd take the week off also. Wow. And
Who's that?
Bobby
Where does he live?
lives in Georgia.
We're in Georgia.
Oh, geez, you would have to ask such a question because, you know, there's so many different names.
There are. It has the most counties, I think, of any state in the US.
One way Southern County.
And I've heard it 25 times and I still can't tell you
We'll
tonight.
find out. We'll stop by.
Probably not, sounds like.
Probably.
The only thing I know is the big city is like 15 minutes away.
Well, not far.
Mhm.
We can narrow it down.
Because I've been down there a couple of times. The whole thing bores the hell out of it.
Atlanta bars.
But
You've just been to the wrong places.
Right, too much city maybe.
but it just is, you know, the traveling down there is what I don't like. And once I get there, I enjoy myself. But you know, trying to pull through all that traffic, 7 lanes of highway, you know, going one way.
Still going one way.
Until they cut you off.
Yeah.
A lot of interstate.
That East Coast.
Anyways, I'd also think that maybe we should think about lining up for another truck pretty soon. Because we still got over a year to get this new one in here, and so it means we probably are still looking at 2 years after we say we want another one to get another one.
Which one's gonna be replaced this time?
I'm guessing that we need to do something about the 4-wheel drive.
Mhm.
And-
Thomas's?
Yeah. And I don't want to downgrade to,
What did we order? A 10-wheeler?
I don't want to downgrade to just a simple 2-wheel drive truck. We need the hone and we need the 4-wheel drive part of it.
Mhm.
And so I certainly am not going to say that you can get out of this cheap. Because this when you start talking 4-wheel drives lately, you start talking good money.
Are they more than a 10-wheeler? Are they similar?
They're about similar.
Yeah.
What
About
was
the same
that?
money.
200.
You know, 160 or something like it. I don't remember.
Yeah, without it was a trade.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, it's with the trade in.
180 or
It's
something.
180 something without the trade in.
Real money.
Real money, wow.
So that's something that I'd like to have you start thinking about when we might want to do that.
We should put it on the budget. then for
Yes.
next year.
Well, we'll just put another 106,000 or whatever in our equipment account.
Nothing to it.
I guess we just go check with Becky
And I
and
wonder if any ARPA money could go
Long
towards
as
it.
one keeps paying its tax.
Absolutely. Now
yeah,
I've been-
That,
I guess.
Well, I mean, you could scuzz it around. I mean, if you take them guys, what we pay them out of the ARPA money, then we'd have that money.
Right, as long as we do it in correct
Right,
timing, fiscal
right,
year, whatever.
right.
Yeah,
Just
that's a
so we
good
don't
idea.
have to raise taxes,
Right.
you know, essentially say, oh, we need, we still need 90, we're 90,000 short, you know. It'd be nice if,
But with the wages the guys get, it's pretty close to, in a year to what a truck would cost.
that's true.
Anyway, so it might wash pretty good.
certainly something to think about.
Yeah.
Um,
What else is going on?
I don't know if you can get people to throw trash tomorrow night into the 30-yarder, but that needs to go.
Oh, that's what you told me that.
That thing is reeking.
Mariah,
Which one?
Rodney says the open topped
The
30
couch,
yards.
the couch roll off?
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Oh, because that got all that garbage that
Yeah.
time.
Rodney said it stinks and it needs to be tipped.
Okay. I
Make
will
it
call.
happen.
Sure.
So fun.
Right
Thank
thi-
you.
Right this minute, those little white things are trying to lug it away.
Oh,
Oh, and they do a good job of
Yeah.
lugging, so.
Oh, well. Yes, with Rodney here, he connect to the transfer station, but just two things. One, Mariah, we should put on the website or even a sandwich board by tomorrow night that it's gonna be closed right during the fair. Just to remind people.
oh,
Mm,
And then the other thing is the little dockway between the tires and the metal. That thing's pretty much had it, like that's
That
unsafe.
needs a repair job, big
It sure
time.
does.
Yeah.
So we should get on that before we.
yeah. Yes,
Like ASAP, like I don't know who would do that, but we should hire somebody to even just stabilize it, because
Right.
it's like, it looks like a dock, an old dock.
What has happened is that the boxes have slipped back and hit it, twisted it, and this, that, when they pull it. And
Oh, right,
that's what's actually has happened to it, because now it needs to be, like you said, untwisted and tightened back into place, maybe
Yeah.
a few extra braces to hold it where it belongs, or build a new one, but but something probably needs to
Yeah.
happen to it.
yeah,
gotta find somebody to do it.
yeah.
There'll be 25 people around that would do it.
Mariah, since we got the digital sign, where did our sandwich boards go?
There should be some just kind of to the left of the staircase out there, outside.
Even our formerly new one?
I think so, yeah.
We should maybe put that up or put it, we could program the digital sign, I guess, too,
Yeah, we could do that.
if we're not gonna put anything else on it.
Okay, I will do that.
I don't know if it's other business, but it involves the sign. I was just wondering if after the fair, the sign could be changed to say, money, September 21st. Something like that.
Oh, right, the ARPA meeting,
Yeah,
yeah,
That's another good way to advertise.
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Free money.
$400,000.
Yeah.
Come to the town hall.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that ramp, that dock. Can the town loader move like the box sideways if someone was gonna work on? That
Yeah,
thing.
if we can coordinate it with a time the box gets emptied. Then we can just keep the box away from it and we'll put it back.
Yeah, okay. You know of anybody that can fix that? No,
What is it, metal?
that's
No,
wood,
wood, like 2x6s maybe.
Yeah. the dock wood.
Mike Howe can't do it?
Oh, maybe.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, we could ask him. That's a good idea.
Mike could probably do it. And
That's a great idea.
we probably could, put one of my guys on with him to get it
Yeah.
accomplished.
That would be good.
Mariah, can you get hold of Mike Howe and see if he'll look at the dockway in between the, and maybe you get Dove to do it. She's right there. She can do that.
Yeah, she'll go do it. That's fine.
Pound,
She's good at waving her arms.
Yeah.
get it done.
You're ready. Anything else?
Yeah, one other thing. I don't think I'm gonna be getting anybody to come and do anything for me, so therefore, I was wondering if, I've never had any experience with it, but, I guess other towns have done it, so I guess we could do it, but thinking about getting a load of asphalt and renting a roller and dumping that there on that bad spot on that culvert there by the dam.
Mhm.
And Thomas grade it best he can and roll it down.
Hmm.
What do you think?
It's been done before.
DIY paving.
Where would you get the roller?
Right this moment, it's a good question, but I think
Get one down 11 in there, and then,
that's what I'm kind of thinking, to get one there, might possibly get one, can get one over to Avashon's now, but I don't know.
Just a
that.
small one or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, but it needs to be a regular roller, and,
Then you could have all the oxen go over
cause
it.
I don't think anybody's coming to, do anything about.
Right.
Can't even get
well,
anybody
if
to
you're
come
gonna
and
do
look.
handwork, you're gonna call. A little roof man.
Oh, yeah,
Pipe,
Huh?
when you're working on pipe.
That
Yes,
yeah. Well, you can, I mean, that works, because my dad just told about it. They just dump it on the road, spread it, and then take the grader and shape it, and then.
yeah, as long as you get pretty small stuff, 3/8 or something.
Right, so I think, yeah, go for it, because it'd make that corner a lot better. 'cause
Oh, it's just gonna be a snowplow catcher and everything else all winter, and, so, but I certainly wasn't just gonna do it without talking to you. Cause it might turn into a big disaster, and might as well be four of us involved.
Giant speed bump there.
The owl has received it.
All right, what other great things do you have?
Well, up to the extent of what we got right this
Better
moment.
stop.
Ray Sherman called you up about that culvert up past Danae's. And I mean, I go over it once in a while, but I'm paying no attention, and he wanted it replaced. That culvert hasn't had water in it in 20 years, I don't think. It's this high up out of the ditch.
Where is this located?
Just when you start up the hill.
Right where we turn our trucks around and just start up the
Yeah,
hill.
start up the hill, it's probably 40 feet, 50 feet.
Yeah,
Dugout.
cause the only reason why,
The
Kelsey,
Kelsey Mountain.
Oh.
the only reason why I was gonna say something about, can't be that bad.
Well, he wants it replaced because the snow machine, the groomer goes over it and it's cut the whole top of it off, but Bill and I went up and looked at it the other day because, he's in the snow machine club, and I said, well, maybe. That culvert ain't had water in it years, and you made a diversion ditch down below it. So that's working. And so I just thought, have Bill go up and pluck it out, and if you could bring over,
No load
half a
of
load
something
of stuff
put up there.
to dump in the hole.
I just, yesterday, my brother was telling me that, Bill Chester had never been up in there. And so they had a convertible there the other day.
Oh, great.
And they actually drove all the way up there to almost the very top where the ledges have really washed. And chickened out right there.
Chickened out.
I told him, heck, you've been through the worst of it now.
Yeah, went through the worst part.
So I guess if a convertible can get up in there, I guess it's not in that bad a shape.
That's kind of inspiring, actually.
Yeah,
So anyways, and I don't know if you wanna look at it or not, but
Well, anytime
Alright.
somebody wants to do something, all they gotta do is let me know and I'll deliver the stuff.
as far as,
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Sue.
I'm Susan Knapp.
yeah,
Thank you for having me.
come in, take a seat and we'll get through you.
All right.
Would you like?
but anyways, as far as I'm concerned,
No,
that
thank you.
culvert hasn't done anything for quite a while, so.
Just go away.
Yeah,
So,
coordinate with Bill.
Neighbor Bill said he'd pluck it out of.
Yeah, but just go out and coordinate with Bill.
Yes. Yes. And,
you're talking about Cameron by any chance?
yes. If he gets his back over him.
So he's not thinking of putting something back in.
No, because originally we said, well, if you give us a culvert, Snow Machine Club
Well, I have some old
would,
metal culverts. that
would stick it in
worked
there.
in there.
But then we went up and looked at it, we said, well, Jesus ain't doing nothing anyways.
Right.
And hasn't for quite a while. One end of it's all plugged right up.
You don't need fill or anything like that if it came out.
Well, that's, but he's gonna be up there ditching anyways, we can just dump that in it, you know? If you're ditching, if you want, if you can, I don't know, pull in or back in to the field across from my father's and dump it along the top of that.
Swale there.
Yes.
Going back towards the brook.
Yeah, cause my brother said he could use some fill,
Mhm.
or,
So does he want it kind of like in a pile or just
yeah,
spread it back?
no,
Or just in the
just put it in
pile?
a pile.
Alright.
Or you can back up across from the schoolhouse and put it on the edge of that field. And Bill said, if you wanted, you could back in. He's got a pile of junk right up next to the stone wall by Dworsky's driveway. And he said you could dump some in there if you wanted.
Yeah.
I don't know how much.
I don't know how much it will be either. I just know that that
But
section over there
don't
needs to
be
be dealt
scared
with.
to dig them out.
Oh, yeah. I told the boys that as long as she dig, let her dig.
You're gonna do ditching on something other than monarch.
Yeah, for a change.
Yeah.
They get bored driving up to Monarch all the time.
All right, if that's all you got, you can leave.
All righty.
Have a good fair.
Don't let the door hit
Um,
you.
we're going to push up Susan Knapp's Little Free Library from 7:30 to right now. She said
Yeah.
it's gonna be like a 2-minute presentation.
All right,
Yeah,
you're on the clock.
Well, I actually said it would be a 5-minute type thing. So
What's
did
going
you
on?
guys get the email of the drawing?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to pop outside and have a look at the space I had?
Sure.
Sure,
Okay.
we're gonna adjourn to the outdoors.
That's right.
We'll be right back.
carry the owl out.
You can look out the window.
Right, if it's a good owl, it'll be.
It's sweet.
Go right ahead. I'm just. You just never know. $160,000 truck and a library.
Little library.
A little teeny library.
Yeah.
Right, a second library.
All right, we're back.
Someone's upside down.
Yeah, what's going on here? Really? Yes, you
Fred,
is it Fred Hahn?
appears to be.
I was trying to see out the window. I thought I could do it better this way.
Did you fall?
Is he hanging from the ceiling or
Yeah,
something?
look at him.
He's hanging from the
Don't.
ceiling. He's gonna get hit by a train.
Don't give Davis any ideas.
What you doing, Fred?
Gravity boots, right?
That's zany Fred. All right.
Do you want to record your outdoor executive session, like any outcomes from that you want to report since?
We do,
Yeah, okay.
but if it hadn't been for Fred disrupting my train of
Your
thought.
train of thought.
Anyway, we met with Susan outdoors. She's going to talk with Jeff Porter. He's going to construct a little free library, and she hopes to have it in place before the ground freezes this year.
We agreed on a location.
Yeah, we agreed on a location right out near the handicapped parking sign, near the border with the church.
She'll talk with the church people.
Yeah, we're gonna talk with someone from the church, maybe and slide it over on their property, maybe not, who knows? I think that's about it.
She's got a lot of books to fill it.
Yeah, she's got-
Years worth.
Yeah, and she's gonna solicit donations by the listserv and all, and
For materials,
yeah, for materials, and I took it that Jeff was gonna build it for free, but
I think so.
anyway,
Free
that's where
labor.
we stand.
Thumbs up. Thumbs
Next.
up, Fred. Or it'll look like a thumbs down.
Yeah,
How do you do that?
Right.
there we go.
There you go.
Town bulletin board, Mariah Lawrence and Lynn Hadley, you're here.
I am here
I
for the
don't see-
displaced in the bulletin board in the agenda, so we're just going
Yeah.
after Sue.
Yeah. I
So
don't see Mariah, so it's all up to you.
it's okay.
Yeah.
I promised I'd be here and she said maybe, so.
Yeah. So go for it.
Well, I thought we were Jeffrey Porter's only date, but evidently he's making a mini library and a bulletin
Right,
board for
yeah.
us, which is really great. Although not free on the bulletin board part.
Oh.
So he gave us a quote of 2,500,
Mhm.
and that did not include the site work, which Michael Sacca was really wonderful to ask the Sponables. They said really great, except they don't like mowing over the tacks. So they want a very nice site work done where it's very clear that their yard is ending. And I'm working on materials for that, plus sand and gravel,
Could be a clear
Very
border underneath it.
clear border. And I also have some very good ideas for saving tax, but that's a minor detail. So we are, we're thinking about 3,000, but we think we may come in under. And Michael Sacca has been really wonderful to say he'll do 1,000 of it through the Association of Vermont Communities. No, Alliance, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are asking the town for 2,000 or less. And I want to say we are also getting donated locust posts from the town forest.
Yeah.
And Gordy's going to dig the holes for free.
Mhm.
And it looks like really cool roofing is going to get donated.
Nice.
So I'm thrilled. It's going to be two-sided. It's going to have hooks so that we can put special announcement banners on it as well.
Yeah.
And of course, post and beam. So very tastefully designed.
Is it gonna be similar size to the old one or larger?
I don't remember. Do you remember how big the old one was and if we felt that was big enough?
I don't know, it probably was as long as this. This is
Like
probably-
5 by
One of these
3 or.
tables.
Yeah.
Over
Yeah, similar, but probably
Well,
3 by.
He
Yeah.
wrote
Yeah.
3 by 5 and he said it can be bigger. I don't think that's the big part of the cost at all, for sure. So,
But you said two-sided though.
but two-sided.
I
And
think that's
so
big enough.
we'll be able to do things that are dated.
So the
Like-
orientation would be different then, or you go around the back?
You go around the back
Okay.
for things that we were thinking that aren't dated, like people's business cards,
Right.
you know, ongoing services. But I'm excited that there are some really interesting ways people are connecting their bulletin boards with their digital communications in towns. And I still need to do some research, and there wouldn't be any cost involved, but I'm excited. Like, you can put the QR code, you can put the links right there so people can see them, that kind of thing.
Right.
You just started speaking a foreign language.
And remember,
That's the
But-
easy IT guy.
but we are, I mean, it's, you know, we're putting something up that we've used for a long time,
Mhm.
and we're gonna make it better. So it feels good, and that there are a lot of people involved in it already.
So you said something about links or something that'll link it, you can zap a code.
Yeah, a QR code is, you do it with a
QR
cell phone.
That's what that is.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a
Oh, that-
barcode, but that's the QR.
Ah,
And if you put your cell phone up to it, it'll take you to the page.
Put your cell phone.
It'll take me, so if I put my cell phone up, all of a sudden I
It'll take you
disappear.
You
away.
disappear, you go into a page, so be very careful what you choose.
Do I get
Gary.
reconstituted properly or?
That's the question, right? It's new technology.
So like,
Anyway.
remember that, the guy wanted to do that with the covered bridges.
Yeah,
So if we had like a master one
right.
or something, right, somebody could hold up a phone, get all the information on where the covered bridges are in town. With maybe, you know, further pull downs for history or whatever.
That is wonderful. It's a great example of doing that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
that is
I
good.
feel like it's old and new.
So
That
you
feels
actually
great.
have your whatever on the bulletin board, but it have the QR code so you can look for more information or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we can say town office information or upcoming
Yeah.
Plus beautiful posters because someone's doing, you know, a concert, blah, 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 all those kinds of things that would come and go, and the libraries wanting to take on and willing to take on, sort of maintaining the organization and the beauty of that, and taking down things when they're out of date, etc. So it's happening. And what we decided for our project was that Gordy would dig the holes and we'd put the posts up with Jeffrey's okay, and then he would potentially do the building perhaps after frost.
But the post will already be.
But the
in.
post will be in and we'll be ready to go.
Yeah.
So we're only looking for $2,000.
Oh,
A mere 2,000 for all that community communication. And potentially less, which I promise to return to you if it's not spent. Or not ever gather from the town. So, and we were hoping that we would not need to go through the whole ARPA thing with all of the different ARPA things, because it seems small.
Yeah.
But we're willing
Save your
to.
receipts.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Everything's been free so far. Yeah, I wouldn't do anything without getting an okay from you guys, but that's the scoop. So, but we are happy to wait for the ARPA cycle if that feels better for you. I think it can certainly be fit under improving town communications.
For sure.
So,
Can't
Well,
we
Can't you
reimburse
take
us now?
that? Yeah,
I think we ought to just spend the money and then get reimbursed if we
Right.
can.
if we can.
But call it, we could call it an ARPA thing. But with that, you know, our directive, it's an ARPA improvement and then get reimbursed by, once we do our accounting.
but so.
Michael, oh, sorry, go ahead.
That we could go forward with it, is
Right.
what you're saying.
I think so. I mean, if Becky were here, she could say, oh yeah, we'll get the money.
You
out of
could ask
whatever."
Sarah, she's on here, how that would work.
Sarah from TRO.
Sarah Ray.
Yeah.
Sarah's here.
There,
The great and Sarah, right?
Yeah.
Wow, okay,
she's there, she's smiling.
great.
She's right side up.
I was hoping I'd get to hear. Okay.
What do you say, Sarah? Did you hear our conversation?
Could you please repeat the question for me, what you're specifically hoping to do?
Well,
Build a community bulletin board, and we're seeking $2,000 for it. And it's going to be totally linked into our digital communications in town as well. So we're considering it good new communication infrastructure.
Right,
We'll
and
have
so
to
you-
come over.
you're hoping to use ARPA money on it?
Yes, and what we're gonna do is, we were going to just spend town money and then hope to get reimbursed by ARPA money, if that makes sense.
Or do it, just how would that, yeah, but the chronology of that work, what do we have to do?
Right, so if you were to spend town money on the project, you could reimburse yourself out of your ARPA fund at a later date because you're still within the time period that's specified for your ARPA dollars. You would just need to make sure that you document everything very carefully and you're showing, you know, the fund balances and that money's going out and money's coming in. And then, you know, the other possibility too is that you would pay it directly out of your ARPA fund, depending on where your decision-making process is. I don't know. I know we're going to talk about that next in the agenda, so I don't want to preempt that, but those are two possibilities I see.
Okay, thank you. Michael Saka, you have your hand up.
Yes. Lynn made a statement that I was providing $1,000, and I need to qualify that. That is not true. It may be true, but it has to go in front of the board of ABC, and we'll just have to see about that. She did leave out the fact that that there's a through Vital Communities, there's a they sort of sanction this fundraising effort, and they will help promote it and develop it and help the town committee, who's ever on this bulletin board thing, to help raise the funds and promote it, as I said. So that's out there, and that wasn't mentioned as a way to fundraise. ARPA would also be a good way to do it, I would think. One thing that I did mention is that there are locust posts that you know, I'm involved in some kiosk projects, 4 different kiosk projects, and there's a lot of locusts growing at the Ashley Community Forest, and ABC has offered to provide posts for some of these kiosk projects. They're locusts, so they would last a long time. That's the whole idea. Timber framers tend to like locusts for that reason. Anyway, so those are 2 things in the works. They're not absolutely for sure yet, but I just wanted to clarify that for the record.
All right, thank you.
I just have 2 design thoughts.
Great.
One, I mean, if it's facing the road, and the sort of timely things are facing the road, just make it clear there's
another side, right?
Back.
Right. Good arrows.
Having broken fingernails on the last one, trying to put in
Bad.
contacts.
It's going to be
make it a soft, something soft, so you can go
and it's going to have cork. Well, there are going to be cork parts down the side that you can take them from and put them to. So thank you for that, for sure. So, and I can
swore at Gary Mullen so much in that last one.
Michael Saka did that.
Oh yeah, Michael too.
So we're certainly in no hurry to spend the money. However, it's because most of it's free, but it sounds like we can continue going ahead with the project.
I think so. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Steam ahead.
Steam ahead. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Great idea.
I'd show you the picture, but it's not.
Yeah, we do miss the.
I feel that way too. I'm so looking forward to getting it back and making it better. Yeah, I wanted it to turn, you know, so you could flip it, but then one side's upside down. When you
Fred Pond would be right side up.
Fred would love it. Fred
You could get it to revolve.
Right.
All the
Like those
time.
fancy restaurants.
And my apologies that I said that 1,000 was totally available. I misunderstood. So we will see whether that comes through or not.
We hope it does. Anyway, thank you for your enthusiasm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, check that off the list. Bulletin board. Now it's on to Sarah at 6:20. Pretty close.
Not bad. Only half an hour off.
No, but remember, we've already done the Little Free Library.
Yeah.
That's true.
Sarah, do you want to step forward?
Sure. Hello, everybody. So my understanding is that this evening we're going to talk through logistics for next week's community discussion about ARPA funding. Is that right?
Yep.
Wonderful. I have not been at a meeting for a while, so it's sorry, there was a disturbance. So I haven't been at one of your meetings for a little while, so I don't know what your decisions have been around what portion of your award you're going to be considering and making decisions about in this meeting. So I know at one point we had talked about maybe taking part of your award and using that for projects that you've already decided upon, and then having the community provide input for the other part of the award. And I'm wondering if that's still something that you've been talking about. It's good for me to know that walking into the conversation next week.
Well, we haven't decided on anything yet, any projects. I guess personally, I was going to wait until after I thought we should wait till after the meeting on the 21st to see which projects we might prioritize, at least initially.
Yeah, I thought that was our plan.
Yeah, so no, we haven't decided on anything yet. So
okay.
Everything's open.
So it sounds,
I mean, some of the various plans, are further ahead than others, like what we were calling the municipal plan, because a lot of town officials, elected or appointed, had come up with some numbers. And then there was further input of ideas, and just now the planning commission had some good ideas too.
Yeah.
So but not price tags or estimates or anything
right.
like that. So there will be those sort of differences as far as like your radios in the town trucks might have an estimate, but what were some of the planning commission ones? They were a crosswalk between
two of them,
in town, that we don't have an estimate, but a very concrete image anyway of everybody would understand how that would work.
Right, but there's sort of the knowns and the unknowns.
mm-hmm. Okay, great. So it sounds, if I'm understanding correctly, like the entirety of your award is really going to be sort of on the table, as it were, for all these different ideas to be considered. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So then what's your vision for steps after next week's meeting, right? So in terms of your process, do you imagine that you're going to be, for example, establishing a committee to further deliberate based on the input that comes out of next week's meeting, or are you going to have additional community meetings? Have you thought about what comes next?
Not that much. We definitely need to talk more about it, but whether we have a committee or just the select board invites people to participate or what, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What would you suggest?
Well, it really depends on how fast you want to move, right? And what works best for your town, what works best for other kinds of processes, right? So we've had some towns establish a committee that does take more time, right? Because then the committee has its own set of meetings and it goes through a process, and then it makes a recommendation to select board. So that will take more time. You could do sort of a series of community meetings. So I've helped out towns that have done sort of a meeting and then a follow-up meeting to sort of dig deeper into the ideas, explore them further. And then the select board sort of takes that information, works on it, and comes up with a decision for the projects they want to fund. Some towns have done multiple community meetings followed by a committee process, which you can imagine takes even longer. So I think, if you're going to look at next week's meeting, there's going to be a lot of ideas that are on the table, lots of stuff that's sort of lots of good information that's flying. We're not going to come to any sort of resolution at the end of the meeting, right? We're going to have everything sort of recorded, and maybe we'll talk about this in a minute, but come up with some criteria to evaluate those ideas. but there's still going to be a lot of work to be done. If you wanted to have another community meeting, again, you would probably, what you would accomplish at that next community meeting would really be like getting more detail on some projects and maybe ranking or evaluating some projects. But again, you wouldn't be reaching final decisions, and that prerogative belongs to the select board anyway. So does that help at all? It's different. It's different for every town, but I hope that gives you a flavor of what you can expect.
Sarah, have any towns come up with some sort of metric of when there is a proposed idea for spending that it, you know, it fits a certain rubric or whatever you call it, you know, of, okay, here are the 5 sort of things we want it to accomplish for a town. And so these 3 plans rise to the top because they hit those punch marks.
Right. So that's something that I wanted to talk with you all about. It's the way that I approach these kinds of community meetings, because the danger, of course, is that if you don't have some sort of common reference point, the person who shouts the loudest at the public meeting gets their way, right? And that's not a democratic process. And so it's not a deliberative process. And so the hope is that, and what I encourage towns to think about is for at these community meetings for people to actually brainstorm, okay, what are the criteria by which we're going to evaluate these projects? And so every town has come up with its own set of criteria. I can give you examples from other towns to help get the gears turning. And so that's definitely worked at community meetings that I've facilitated, where they've sort of listened to what other towns have come up with, and then they've sort of reacted and come up with their own list. And then from there, really the way that you use those criteria is you can either do a sort of like numerical ranking system, or you can just sort of say, yes, it meets the criteria, or no, it doesn't meet the criteria. And you evaluate each project along each of those lines. And you say, okay, does this project, for example, is it part of the town plan? Let's say that's a criteria that you wanted to put forward. Or is it supported by the town plan? Yes or no? Or is this project going to support children and families in the community, right? Like there's all different criteria that you could come up with. Is this project, you know, fundable through other funding sources, things like that. And you sort of measure it against those. And if you want a simple sort of way of keeping track, you can say, yes, it meets our criteria. No, it doesn't meet the criteria. And at the end of the day, the projects that have the most yeses are selected, right? Or if you want to do like a 1 to 5 rating system on the extent to which the criteria are met, then you can come up with the highest score. You pick the highest scoring criteria, right? Or the highest scoring projects rather. Heartland took the approach of doing a numerical scoring process, and that sort of made it made a batch of ideas, because they had a ton of ideas out on the table. The numerical scoring process brought a batch of ideas sort of floating to the top, and those were the ideas that they decided to do further research on, right? Like that was sort of unfolding there, because it was too much work to try to do extensive research on the entire list of ideas. So ranking can be a way to sort of limit the amount of work that you have to do by saying, okay, well, these are the projects that have the greatest potential, so we'll do further work on those. Does that help?
Yeah.
So Sarah, who came up with the ranking criteria? Like I can see, like, okay, we're gonna have a committee to come up with a ranking criteria, and then we're gonna have a committee to pick the programs.
So the way that, and every town's done this differently, and I have not been part of every town's process, but the towns that I've worked with, I've encouraged them at the actual community meeting. I'll take 10, 15 minutes and we'll say, okay, let's think through collectively. Let's think through some criteria. What do you think would be good criteria? And we'll have a community discussion about that, and we'll get those pinned down. And then we actually move on to generating project ideas.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
And so like Heartland, for example, how did they arrive then at, 3, 4, 5 criteria? Were they your suggestions or things that have worked in other towns?
It was community generated, right? So to help like seed ideas, I basically just tossed off some ideas that folks might consider, and they reacted to those, and they came up with a whole bunch of their own. And it was really just through that community dialogue that we put the list together. And then I believe, so the way that Heartland approached that process was they did 2 community meetings, and then they had a committee go ahead and work for quite a few months. And so it's possible that the committee refined those criteria further, last I'd heard. And they worked through that numerical process, and they identified the projects that they wanted to dig deeper into, and then they move forward from there. And then the committee made a recommendation to select board, because ultimately it is the select board that makes the final decision.
Yeah. That's nice.
But I've also worked with towns where they haven't done a committee process at all, and it's just been, you know, 1 or 2 community meetings. They get a whole bunch of information from the community, and then the select board uses that to make a decision by whatever process they're going to follow.
I like to keep it simple, so it seems like if we had a community meeting and then maybe a committee of some, I don't know how many people, but
Or even a follow-up meeting.
yeah,
We might be able to narrow it.
Yeah.
If we took the criteria and we talked about the projects, went back and said, now we're down to, you know, out of 30, we're down to 8 now.
Yeah.
You know, and your discussion on those, because even the 8 might have to go down to 6 or something like that.
so you want to have the meeting and then us talk about it and then decide what we're going to do next.
Right.
Instead of
So
deciding
probably,
right now.
you know, set up a follow-up meeting.
Yeah,
So at least we have two townwide discussions with your help, Sarah, and then, you know, hopefully by sort of budget time, we're ready to go.
that sounds good to me.
And are we, Sarah, do you know, or since Becky's not here, are we in the process now of teeing up this swap of paying, you know, town employees with ARPA money so that we can use?
I don't,
As I know, we haven't.
So we have to do that too, Sarah, right? Before budgeting time?
So that's an option. That's one road you can take. We are recommending it because it gives you a lot more flexibility. That
timeline on that.
So it's interesting because I've been talking with Heartland about this. They're taking this approach, the swapping out of the money. And they've been communicating with the budget specialist up at VLCT, who's really the person who knows the nitty-gritty of how to keep your ledgers in order and make sure you're not raising any red flags for auditors under this particular program. And so Sarah Macy from VLCT recommended to Heartland that they go ahead and pay for salaries and benefits of town employees for the upcoming years, right? So they're not doing retrospective, and they're going to be transferring money every quarter, which is when they do their federal salary reporting anyway, right? They do their federal payroll reporting anyway. So that was her approach. Now, not every town has a town staff budget as big as Heartland. And so it is possible to retroactively go back and allocate money that you've already paid out in salaries and benefits. The logistics of that, though, are a little bit trickier, a little bit more nuanced. And so I would, again, refer you to Sarah Macy up at VLCT, who can really make sure that all of your books are in order on that front. So there's no real deadline within this upcoming budget cycle that you have to worry about. What you need to worry about is making sure that all of your ARPA dollars are obligated by the end of calendar year 2024. So that means that if you're going to go ahead and use this swap method, that you've got something down in writing stating exactly which pay periods are going to be covered under ARPA, right? So that you've firmly allocated that money. That's the only real deadline you need to worry about. The logistics of how you actually get that into your ledgers and transfer the money over. Talk about that with Sarah Macy. I hope that helps.
Can we go back 1 year on salaries? Can we go back 2 years? What's the timeline on that?
I believe that, and I will check this as we are talking, but I believe that the start date for ARPA costs is March 3rd of 2021. And I will confirm that hopefully while we are still on the call together, but that's the date to which you can go back to and start paying salaries and benefits.
and we're, I mean, it's complicated because most of our salaries, of course, go to highway. So if we're gonna do a swap, then at least by state statute, we're supposed to keep, as far as I know, we're supposed to keep highway dollars in the highway, you know, on the highway side.
That's an excellent question. So as of this last legislative session, the state recognized that that wall, that firewall between your highway municipal funds and your general fund was creating a headache for towns. And so they eliminated that distinction. So you are no longer bound to keep those two funds separate, and any funds that you free up out of your highway fund can be used for any project that you wish. The only rules that are going to apply to your freed up funds are whatever policies and procedures your town already has in place for the disposition of surplus funds.
That simplifies it a lot.
Absolutely.
What were you saying about surplus? Because when we do have surplus, highway, we're free, we don't need town approval, but we can always spend it as the select board wishes on other highway things, whereas general fund, if there's a surplus, we need town approval. Depending on how we spend it.
Historically, yes.
Historically, anyway.
Okay.
So
So
that complicate things?
So it sounds like if you're going to be freeing up some funds out of your general fund, then you would need to follow your procedures around how to deal with that surplus, unless you change your procedures before that time, right? But yeah, that's the only rules that you need to abide by.
All right.
But the surplus is different than the salaries we're talking about.
Right,
So
right.
I guess I've been always thinking about it as a surplus.
But for example, say we did the swap on just town employees, most of it's highway because those are the majority of our employees.
Right.
It sounds like that money, that swap, we wouldn't have to ask for town approval.
Right.
But for on the general fund side,
No, she just said that that's gone.
Surplus, we have to, but just
Surplus, but we don't have. I mean, you don't have a surplus in your highway wages.
right.
So
Well,
if your
Pay them.
town, oh, sorry.
If we paid them guys 180,000, then we can trade that for 180,000 out of the ACRA funds.
Right.
And if we end up with a surplus, that's got nothing to do with it.
Well, the only surplus we'd have is if we budgeted 200,000
Right.
for employees, and it only came to 180.
Right.
But that's nitpicky. I mean, it's,
Well, yeah, same as the budget 200,000 diesel fuel and just pay 180.
right.
So I just want to correct some things here. So if you, by creating a surplus, what I mean is you are, whenever you free up funds out of your general fund or your highway fund, the funds that are freed up are considered surplus, right? Because they will have been part of your regular operating budget, and suddenly you've already paid that obligation out of a different fund, and so then you have a surplus within your fund. So that's what I mean by creating a surplus. So any funds that you free up will be considered surplus and therefore subject to whatever policies, procedures your town has. So that would imply that your general fund would, in fact, if you're freeing up money out of your general fund, any of those freed up funds need to have some sort of town approval, it sounds like, for the disposition of those funds. If the whole thing about the separation between highway and general fund, that just means that if you free up funds out of your highway fund, you are no longer required to spend those on highway projects, right? You could spend them on any kind of project. And it sounds like due to the nature of your town's policies, you would not need town approval. I haven't looked at your policies, so I'm following your lead on this, but if your policies say that you don't need town approval around surplus in your highway fund, then that's the rule that you follow for those particular dollars, even if you're not spending them on highway projects.
Still don't understand. If we take 180,000 out of ACRA, trading it against salaries, say, then all of a sudden we got $180,000 surplus.
Right, because the operating budget that you had originally set out of your general fund, those dollars are not being used, right, for salaries and benefits. It's the ARPA funds that are getting used for those. So the 180,000 that gets freed up, that's considered surplus.
Because we just added.
But we don't have to follow our existing guidelines between highway and general.
Correct.
So
we can
it
take
doesn't
that,
make any difference
right, for
what
highway.
we call
No,
it. She's calling it a surplus, but it's,
it's extra money,
well, ARPA fund is extra money.
right? It's all accounting.
And it sounds like, Sarah, then, you know, say that by the time we do the swap, say we had 200 of highway and, you know, 100 of general surplus, right? Just for, make it easy. So it sounds like the 200 we could spend, you know, we wouldn't really have to track it as much, but the general, if we ask for town approval, it would have to be very specific, like this 100, that's now general surplus, we're specifically spending on this project. And we want town approval for that. Does that make sense?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think it does.
If that's what your policies say, again, I don't know what your local policies are around surplus. You'll have to check that. But, you know, if the general fund says any surplus, if your general fund policy says any surplus funds have to go through town approval, then, you know, I don't know how you do that typically, maybe through
at town meeting.
Yeah. Yep. So you put forward, you know, the proposal of how those dollars would actually be spent, the breakdown. Yeah.
So other towns, I mean, does that make sense at a town meeting or a townwide discussion that once, say, you do that swap, you're very clear with the voters that these dollars go to these projects rather than just, we'll use it, you know, here's the project we talked about, but, you know, we'll sort of figure out later how that money gets allocated.
Right. That's if that's what your policies say, then yeah. I mean, so my understanding of Heartland, I was just at a select board meeting for them the other day, and they needed select board approval to create a separate fund to store that surplus. So that's what they went ahead and did at that meeting. It's really, they're just following your own policies and procedures for how to handle that cash flow.
Okay.
So, you know, if it's town meeting day that's required through your policies, then go ahead and schedule that in.
Article, right, an article on the warning.
A special town meeting too.
Could be.
You could,
Probably
right.
have to, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is really helpful. I just want to confirm that I just checked, and the expenditure period for ARPA dollars, so this applies to your salaries and benefits reimbursement, begins March 3rd of 2021. All the funds have to be obligated by end of calendar year 2024, as I mentioned, and all the funds have to be spent by end of calendar year 2026. So that gives you a good, you know, 5-year window to get those salaries and benefits paid off and reimbursed. Okay, so it sounds like, oh, sorry.
I just have a quick question.
Yep.
Can the swap happen? I mean, you mentioned retroactively, we can do it.
Yes.
To that date you mentioned. But going forward, where can you start swapping out? Is it when it's budgeted or when it's, you know, actually salaries paid?
So my
year, right?
Right. So my understanding of how VLCT has advised Heartland, and again, this is really a conversation I strongly encourage you talk with VLCT, with the budget specialist there, and they will get you the advice that's best for your town based on your accounting system and your audit risk, right? So it's very town by town specific. Keep that in mind. But my understanding of what Heartland has been advised is that they are they've budgeted out their salaries and benefits for the coming year, and they are basically swapping in their ARPA dollars every quarter So they're making payroll payments using their regular general funds, and then they're swapping out the ARPA funds every quarter to make themselves whole, as it were. And then that creates a surplus out of the general fund. And then those dollars go into the newly created surplus fund that they have. And the reason why they're doing it quarterly is that's when they're reporting payroll to the federal government anyway on a quarterly basis. So does that help at all?
Well, it sounds like it's essentially paid salary. Like once you've made that payment, you can swap it out, but you can't, because the town says, or if we're having a town meeting in March, and we're talking about July 1st of that year, through the next June 30th fiscal year, that we're committing dollars. I was, wondering if we can swap then, or we really have to wait until those salaries are paid, not just budgeted for.
That's a question that I would strongly encourage you to talk to VLCT about, because again, I'm not a budget specialist. I'm not an accounting specialist. So definitely talk with them, because you want to make sure that you're not putting yourselves at risk for audits. Right. Yeah. That said, if you're going to town meeting day, you can still put forward your proposal for how the monies will be spent, right, in the future.
Right. And then, like you're saying, you could do a quarterly swap out or something. Yeah.
Right. And as we've talked about before, once those surplus dollars are created, there's no timeline on them. So you've got all that flexibility.
Right.
Okay, so my understanding of the process is there will be the community meeting next week. We'll have a discussion, select board will do some deliberation, and then there will be another community meeting to look at perhaps a winnowed down list, a subset of those project ideas. Do I have that correct?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And if you help us facilitate, the people at the meeting, if we can somewhat, right, also boil down what our criteria would be. If there's some sort of consensus that here are the 3, 4, 5 that we all think are good criteria.
Yep.
That will help be filters in the future.
Yes, absolutely. I've definitely got that down as something to work with. So let's talk through like what the meeting will look like. Can you remind me, is there Wi-Fi at the town hall right now?
There is.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Awesome. So what I'm thinking logistically is that because I assume it'll be a hybrid meeting, right? There'll be some folks who are on Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what I'm thinking is I can bring a projector and a computer, and I'll just dial into the Wi-Fi, and I'll have on my screen sort of my notes sheet, right? So I'll be recording what people are telling me, and I will at the same time be sharing that screen so that anybody's on Zoom can see it clearly. How does that sound?
Good.
Okay, awesome. So then in terms of structure, typically the way that I do these kinds of meetings is I'll do, or the select board, somebody from the select board will say a few words at the very beginning as an introduction. I give an overview presentation to help folks understand like what ARPA is about and the regulations associated with it. Then we talk about evaluation criteria, then we do the project brainstorming, and then select board says a few words in closing. How does that sound to you?
Got it right on the money.
Okay. Okay. Great. So please remind me, how much time are we scheduling for this meeting next week?
Couple hours, right? I think so.
What time does it start, Mariah?
Starts at 7.
Yeah, not more than 2 hours. I'll start to fall asleep after 2 hours.
Okay. Should I plan for like an hour and a half? Does that sound? Hour and a half. Okay. I will work that through. Thank you. That was the really critical stuff that I wanted to pin down.
Sarah, could you send us a Heartland criteria ahead of time?
Yeah.
Just so we can be thinking about it?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I'll send you some examples from other towns.
That would be great.
anything else that you'd like to talk through? And I see that Michael has his hand up too.
Oh, Michael. Saka.
Hi, thank you. Thanks, Sarah, for that. And John, you just mentioned this at the end there, but my perception of this would be, it would be good to have the criteria kind of nailed down, and maybe part of your intro, the select board intro, just so that everything that follows has that framework somehow in it. But yeah, I think that certainly having some sort of criteria up front would be good. And I want to just address a couple of things that were said. There seems to be this validity given to some projects on this list that have dollar amounts on them. And I just would like to say that I think that there is some time, and I hope that those dollar amounts aren't some kind of puts something in a plus column just because there's some estimate for it now. My feeling is that seems to be time, and why rush to get the hard numbers? I think the most important thing first off is, like, this is the dream stage. Let's say, let's hear what ideas are out there that also fit the criteria, and forget about the money right now. That shouldn't weigh into whether a project is considered or not. The other thing is, I think, obviously making it simple and easy for everybody is good, but I don't think making the process simple is really the answer. And if there's a risk of denying plenty of public input, and perhaps a strategy to making it simple for the select board, because I know you guys are busy, of course, take a load off your plate by, and this is another layer here, but creating a community committee of 3 or 4 that works with the detail of, assessing the criteria, soliciting more input, maybe another meeting or even 2, because I think there's time, wading through the responses, and then reporting to the select board. Just a suggestion, but so you guys aren't involved with the nitty gritty of this, but yet no information would be lost in the process. It would just be sort of gathered and tidied up a bit for you to sort of read easier, and you wouldn't have to be tied up with the busy work of it. And the last thing I'd like to mention is that I know that this list has been generated, and there's only one list on the town website right now, which is a little disappointing because there have been other ideas written into the select board, but they're not being considered on the website list. But Sarah did mention this right off, but I'm just wondering, and I know I wrote this to the 3 select board members last week. I'm wondering about that a 50-50 sort of disbursement of 50% on this existing list. No more than 50% of the funds might go to that, and perhaps 50% of the funds go to community generated ideas. And that way, nobody's going to be happy with the whole thing, but you never make everybody happy anyway. So what about a 50-50? What's that, Gary?
I want to be happy all the time.
Yeah, right. I know. Well, once you retire. So anyway, that's just a proposal that I know that Sarah, in a conversation with Sarah, that other towns have done that. And maybe it's not 50-50, maybe there is some split, but of some amount of percentages, but I'd like to propose 50-50 on that. And that way it would just sort of like clear the air a bit right now, and make people prioritize what's really important for both the town and the town officers and the community.
Okay, well, thank you for your input.
And Michael, I think like what Sarah's getting at too, I think probably the most important thing will be those criteria, because if we have 25, I mean, I don't think there's going to be a bad idea out there, right? But some of it's price tag, some of it's timeline, some of it's where if there's consensus from community I mean, I think for the most part, the select board represents the community of Tunbridge. So,
Right.
you know, I would suspect that of whatever programs eventually get, you know, appropriations, that, you know, right, everybody won't be happy, but everybody will agree that these things that did get money are all important, good things that we can get behind.
Right, and I agree, and I think I hope that part of that criteria is weighing the intent of what this money was first, why it's being offered to towns across Vermont and towns across the country. You know, what the intent was, not just, you know, oh, we've been wanting to do this, and so we should do it now. It should be like, you know, let's help families and individuals that were affected by the pandemic. That is the intent largely of this money. And so I think that needs to, I don't know, Sarah, what those criteria are that Heartland has put forth, but I would hope that it has somehow that criteria of COVID-related impacts to individuals and families is part of it.
In terms of intent, the only intent that is specified through the final rule is that these dollars are spent for the provision of government services. So from a regulatory standpoint, that is all that is required. And that's a very broad envelope. That's any service provided by any state, city, county government, anywhere in the country. And so really it's up to the community and ultimately the select board to decide on how those dollars get directed. And every town is taking a different approach on that front.
But also there's a little less than $400,000. And if we have 25 good ideas, at some point, I would guess, we're going to run out of money.
Right.
And so we're going to have to prioritize. And so some good ideas are going to be left behind. And I think we shouldn't prioritize. I think we ought to prioritize what's best for the town of Tunbridge and not necessarily go a 50-50 or whatever, because maybe it all does slant one way or the other. We might want to spend it all on to help people, and maybe we want to spend like this building here. It really bugs me that we're spending thousands of dollars a year every year to heat this building, and so I think to me it's a little higher on the list to get this place insulated properly so we don't burn so much fuel oil. And that's going to help us over the long term. So just things like that's how I think about things. Todd Tyson, you have your hand up.
I do, Gary. Can you hear me here from the radio station?
No, I can't hear you, Todd.
Is that any better?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm not. You're not on air, Gary, so don't worry about it. I would just emphasize when we do the analysis. Well, we hear all the ideas and hopefully have a lot more participation from the public next week, that the public and the select board should be looking at the long-term ramifications of spending. You know, there are some short-term things that would have a benefit, but thinking about sort of an upsurge in some of the younger population and thinking about climate change, et cetera, where do we want Tunbridge to be in the next 10 to 20 years as far as the biggest impact of spending the ARPA funds and having the greatest impact on the most number of current Tunbridge residents as far as future residents, but kind of using that as a key filter in the decision making.
Good idea, Todd. Anyone else have any comments, questions?
Who is P2E?
Patricia Beavers.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
just got her hand up.
No,
Yeah, that's Scott Beavers. Sorry about that. That's
Scott. Do you have anything to add, Scott?
Sorry, I just woke up. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't.
How about you, Patricia? I can hear you.
I think that might have been me laughing, Janet.
Oh, Janet, what are you doing? Yeah.
Well, I agree with your comment about putting money into the infrastructure of Tunbridge and creating, yeah, using it to create more benefit in the future and not just things that happen right now kind of stuff. So that's all I have to say at the moment.
All right, thank you, Janet.
Okay, I'm unmuting. I mean, I'm muting.
Anything else, Sarah?
Just want to make sure that I'm totally clear. So my understanding is that the direction from the select board is that the entire ward is going to be considered as part of this process. And that in order to identify criteria, I'm going to send you a list of some examples from other towns, but then during the actual meeting next week, I'll also ask the community to generate ideas for criteria, and we'll identify a list together. Does that sound right?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Okay. What I might also do, if you think that's okay, is to briefly introduce the list that's on your website, just to say these are some ideas that have already been put forward, so we can try to keep the conversation moving faster. We're not rehashing things that folks have already discussed. How does that sound?
Sure.
Well, if that's the case, then I would like to propose that all the ideas that have been presented to the select board be on that list, and not just a selection that was called the working list, because certainly you've had different lists given to you. So,
well, we can include all of those lists. Yes.
Okay, because right now on the website they are not there, and it would be nice if all of the ideas were on the website right now.
All right, let's see if we can get that done. I'm pretty sure Jeff can probably do that.
Thank you.
That'd be great. And if you're not able to get it on the website in time for the meeting, if you can at least get them to me so that I can make a slide so that everybody can see them for the presentation. Awesome. Thank you all. Those were all of my questions. Thank you so much for giving me this direction, and looking forward to next week.
All right.
We are too. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Take care. All right.
That sounds good.
Moving right along.
Is Dean Goulet out there somewhere? I don't see him. Have you seen Dean, Mariah?
No, but I think that his attorney is here.
Oh.
Hi, everybody. This is Andy McElwain. I'm here for Dean.
Gotcha. Hi, Andy. I guess proceed with a statement about what you want.
Sure. So I know that Dean was in touch with Mariah, I believe, and received a form application requesting permission to improve 2 additional areas of Sawyer Hill Road. And I forwarded a completed application, I believe yesterday. Did you receive that?
I did, yeah, and I printed it off. It's in your packets.
Oh, okay, great.
All right, thank you.
And you all are obviously more familiar with the road and the locations than I am, so I would defer to the map. I haven't actually been there in person, and obviously Dean would be here in person to walk you through this if he were in town, but he's not. But the important thing, I think, from our perspective is that, as you know, there was some previous concern raised at a hearing back in, I guess it was July, about what work was being proposed. And since that time, I know Dean has had conversations with members of the Pease Family Farm Partnership that owns the property adjacent to Sawyer Hill Road, where this road work is proposed. And they have advised that they have no problem with this work being done. And I think from our standpoint, that was really the only potential issue that needed to be sort of reconciled. And I think the application otherwise sort of speaks for for itself in terms of what else is remaining that Dean was hoping to do.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that. I wish Rodney were here. We can tell him about it. Do you have a problem with it, John?
You know, I think, yeah, let's wait until I'd like to talk to Rodney about it, just because it gets into more sort of class 4 road improvements that are not done by the town. So I think at our next meeting, we should have this on the agenda and come to a decision then.
Okay. Do you think that's feasible?
Well, my concern is really about the timing here.
Right.
First and foremost, I mean, I think that the work that Dean has proposed to do, although it's now laid out in this application, is no different than what he had asked to do the last time he was before you. I also will tell you, I'm a little bit concerned about the timing and development of this particular form being issued to Dean and subject to approval by the select board without prescribing any real guidelines or standards for how decisions are to be made by the town for class 4 road improvements. So it's sort of, I think that Dean has tried to do his best to comply with what the town has asked, because he really wants to get this road work done.
Well, but Dean also did a lot of work up there without asking the town.
Well, if that was the concern of the town, then I think that's a different subject they can raise with Dean. But
I think that's why we came up with this application.
Well, the town's allowed other improvements to be made for class 4 roads. That's my understanding, and that was before an application was required. And I'm not here to try to pick a fight with the town. I'm simply pointing out that if we push this to the next meeting, I think that is a concern for Dean, because he really would like to have approval to complete the work. I'm not entirely certain what the town would object to if they were satisfied with the work he's already done, and if it's really no different from what the town has recently done on that portion of Sawyer Hill Road.
The concern I have is that our road foreman isn't here, and many times over the years we've made decisions that we thought were right without adequate information, and it turns out they weren't exactly right in the end. So I'd like the input from the road foreman as to whether this was a good idea or not. He more than likely will say it's a good idea, but I just would like his input so that we can have a little, or I can have a little more confidence that we're making a good decision. And I'm quite sure that the answer will be yes, but I just want Rodney involved. And so our next meeting will be in 2 weeks. Right. So that will still, I hope, give Dean plenty of time to get
not
the work
winter
done.
yet.
Right. The whole month of October to get this work done. And I know with Dean Sauls, he might have to coordinate with him, and Dean's got other work and all that stuff. So I know you need to get the arrangements done as soon as possible. So anyway, we would like to make this decision next meeting.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
So make sure, Mariah, wherever you are, that we talk about this next meeting.
Yes, I'll put it front and center.
Yeah.
Right. I'll put it in road report /
yes. Yeah.
Sawyer Hill improvement.
Yeah.
I'll get a hold of
Mariah, is there?
Yes.
Ask him about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
If the select board had any, thoughts, objections, advice for improvement, how would that work itself out through this? you know, but like at the moment, this is almost like a, you know, an up or down vote. And so if we said, oh, we want, you know, we want it to be 20 feet wide or whatever, you know, if there was some slight adjustment, or Rodney said, you know, it's got to come with culverts then, or, you know, how did that work, you know? Like if there was
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can make it anything that you want it to be. If you want to have a spot down under the bottom where it says for office use, and you want to say for office use and suggestion, or, you know, readjustment of the approved, you know, I can do whatever you want. So
that would make sense.
That's a good idea, yeah. Because then we wouldn't necessarily have any standards, but we would have Rodney's best guesstimate on what would be good for that particular portion of road.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
Under control.
Yeah.
Next, soundproofing estimate. Janet, do you want to reappear?
I think that's me.
I
have reappeared.
Right.
Hello.
Oh.
I rode my bicycle out there on the Sawyer Road section that you're talking about not so long ago, and wow, there's a couple of nice properties that I saw that Dean was selling. Anyway, it looks pretty sweet out there. I don't know. So we're talking about soundproofing.
Yep.
All right. So I got this estimate. And when it came to me, I was like, oh my, really? Wow. That seems like a lot of money. And I didn't get any other estimates. I don't know, but he's the expert, and that seems to be what it costs. And have you been down in the downstairs of the town hall for a meeting? And yes, and I know you have. And have you been down there when the folks come down after, you know, for the break of a shindig? And I actually have to just walk out, because it is so deafening. And when I have been there for meetings, I can't hear people, and it's anyway. So this is why I want it to happen. And I think it's an important thing to happen. And I want to know what your thoughts about it.
Okay. Is there, maybe you don't know the answer to this, is there anything else we should do to the downstairs of the town hall before we were to do this work?
Like the lighting.
Yeah,
I know, like the lighting. So I need to find somebody else. I haven't secured somebody else to take that project on. And I'm sorry, because that was the first idea of what I really wanted, was the lighting, but I want both. And I think both are important. And I don't think that this would impede the lighting project at all, because what he's talking about are 2 panels. So he said, if we did 50% of the ceiling in these panels to break up the sound, then yes, that would be all of it. But if we did 30%, you would definitely notice a sizable difference. So this estimate is for 30% of the ceiling. And what it is 2 long panels between the lights that are, let's see, from the kitchen side to the fluorescent lighting. There's like 30 feet. I don't have it up in front of me, but it's like a 2 by 30 feet thing. Right. You know, it's like it's rails with fabric, and basically it just breaks up the sound. So there's 2 strips of this rails with fabric stuff, right?
Well, it says here, 2 acoustic panels, 34 feet by 3
Thank
foot inches. And then two acoustic panels, 14 foot by 6 foot 4 inches.
Okay.
So there's 4 total, apparently.
Yes. And between the first 2 sets of fluorescent lighting that are up there. Yeah. And he seems to feel that would make a sizable difference in that room. And I mean, maybe we could get other estimates. I don't know, but I don't know anybody else who does this work. I could potentially try to look for that.
Could you?
I will. Because when I looked at the number, I'm like, really? That's a lot of money.
Right.
Right. But maybe that's just what it costs. I don't know. So I need to look, I need to dig a little deeper, I think.
Okay. Well, it'd be nice to get 1 or 2 more.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's protocol, right? You don't just go with 1. You should. Right.
Well, this gives us an idea anyway.
Yeah. So that's a start of it. And I definitely want to continue the talk on the lighting. Yeah. And because the shindigs are coming back.
I hear that.
Yeah.
and how much again was the lighting? Was it going to be like $3,000 estimated?
So what Matt was talking about was about $3,000, and that and what he was talking about was not replacing all of it, just some of it. I mean, I need to get with more electricians and see what their ideas are about that. And yeah, there's lots of different options.
Janet, what did you get an estimate also on what was it, 50% instead of 30 and what that would cost?
No, the 30 is what he offered. What is the estimate that he offered?
Okay.
So I don't have the 50%. So, we can add 20% to that number.
Yeah.
Yes, right. No, I'm just thinking when you reach out to other sound acoustic people.
Oh, I got you.
Sounds like those percentages might be important.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Good thought, John.
Yeah. Good thought. Definitely. Well, I'll reach out, see if I can find other people who are willing or who do that kind of work in this area. It was kind of hard to find just the one guy, but
Google it.
Yeah. Okay. I'll Google it. and hopefully find something.
How do you find people too, Janet? I was thinking like, do architects know, or like place like Dartmouth or the Flynn, the performance spaces, do they know?
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, those are good thoughts. Yeah.
Or Seth's daughters, people who do a lot of work.
Yeah, Seth does sound. I talked to Seth about it in the past.
Yeah.
Because he is very involved with the town hall, and he's more about providing sound, not dampening sound.
Right,
so,
but he in his world, right?
Right, but maybe he's in the world and he could find. At the time when I asked him about it, like a year ago, he didn't know.
Okay.
He didn't have an idea, but maybe it's a good thought.
Probably performance spaces though.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's important to do that work and make that space nicer for the community.
Yeah,
and without making it too different. Like I don't want to change it too much visually. I just want to make it better.
We agree.
Especially for us old folks with bad hearing.
Yeah, I gotta walk outside. All right, I know you guys got to get moving on, and I will continue the search.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Other business. Oh, sorry, Todd Tyson, you have your little hand up.
Yeah, it's a small hand. Yeah, I'm just following up on my query from about a month ago, and this is about, once again, not about the lawsuit that's all centered around maintenance of the legal trails in Tunbridge, but about the policy that's in effect right now that says walking only, subject to the Tunbridge, to the select board's analysis. That's not exactly what it says on the sign. We're down to probably only a month. Maybe if it doesn't snow or get too cold or too muddy in October, maybe a little bit longer. And I think at that meeting, Gary, you said that maybe you would consult, or the select board would consult with Paul Gillies to get his feedback on whether additional use beyond walking only would trigger any problems for the lawsuit. I'm wondering if you were able to get a response from Paul on that.
Yes, and I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, he said it wouldn't affect the lawsuit. You remember that?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
That's what was said.
So allowing bicycle traffic on legal trails right now would not affect the lawsuit.
Okay, and that was a response from Paul?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. I just figured I would check because I hadn't heard anything different, and I haven't been able to attend the last few select board meetings. Okay, we'll take it from there. Just to follow on, is there some sort of future date when you think that the select board can be open to updating the public on where things stand with this? Well, it's not litigation yet, but it could be, or is that just totally unknown?
It's unknown right now. Nothing's happening as of now.
Okay. Well, I may, under separate cover, send along a possibility, but I don't think I need to discuss that now. All right. Thank you very much.
Take care, Todd.
Righto.
All right, we've moved on to other business.
You want to do the grants manager thing?
Sure.
ARPA manager thing?
Yeah.
Get it out of the way.
Sure.
So we should do executive session
Before Mariah dumps a whole bunch of stuff on us.
All right, I guess someone needs to make a motion to go into executive session to talk about. John moved that we go into executive session.
I made the motion.
Oh, you did?
Okay.
I second it then.
John seconded it after Mike made the motion. Boy, we're confused.
Okay, I'm gonna try to move us into.
Can you freeze us or something?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can move us into a breakout room. I've never done this. Please hold.
Fighting.
Get Dove back. She can do it.
Wendy did it once.
I think so, yeah.
He's done it at the legislature.
Oh, that Boardway Sully is inviting us to join the room.
You better join. We're the only ones invited. To rejoin.
We're now in the main.
Oh man. Okay, hold on. We gotta go back in. That was my mistake. because I had I didn't know if you guys were joining, so I had tried to cancel, like stop it. Okay, sorry,
Oh.
one more time.
Betsy's on
Breakout rooms, town of Tunbridge.
He's not there.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
Phew.
Good job, Mike.
Seamless.
Nope, you're there. You did it. You're out of
Yeah.
it.
There.
We did it.
IT McFeatris.
That's your new name. It says IH, it's IT.
Right. A whole new tractor.
All right, we came out of executive session now. Now we probably, someone makes a motion.
Or we just announced.
We just announced.
Okay.
Kind of already.
Okay,
You announced you're the,
all right, we announced that we have decided to hire Mary Ann Karen for the position of
Arthur Grants manager.
our grants manager, yes.
Or just grants manager in general, right? Won't she oversee all the grants?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will contact her, and I might even see her fly by the barn tomorrow morning, so
Right, we know they're behind her.
she goes by every morning, every night, so.
She'll be at the fair.
step out on the road. That was-
Sometimes I'm near the.
She
road.
rides at Lori's.
Yes. Yeah, she's on that cattle at the fair too.
That's right. Dutch belted. The only kind. Other business.
Other business, and the first 2 pages in your packets are invoices for after school program stuff that Mariah just needs you to approve. So I don't know if you want to do that when you're signing warrants and stuff as well. And then the last 2 pages are just, one is from
Cal
Hemingway's attorney saying that they don't support the opening of the legal trails to bikes. And then the last one is just a letter of support that Two Rivers wrote for the North Tunbridge store. And I just wanted you to have them in your packet.
And you, Gary, gave the thumbs up, right?
Yeah, Jenna printed off a copy of it. Basically, we support the North Tunbridge store in their efforts, and I signed it.
Good.
And then as far as the speed limit goes in town, the V-Trans guy, Ian, he came and did like a speed study in town, and he is proposing to the V-Trans board to reduce the speed in the village to a 30. And then to reduce the speed farther outside of the village, north and south, lower as well. So that gets to be presented to the V-Trans board. And then when that decision is accepted or denied, then I think that V-Trans will come and change those speed limits. So there's an update on that.
And was there a request for a crosswalk up by the library, between the library and the post office? Or
so yeah, when we had applied for that scoping grant that we received from that Janet had applied for and stuff right at the beginning of the summer, that was for sidewalks and for crosswalks. So we got the grant, we were approved for it. So Rita from Two Rivers is going to be working with the engineer who will come and scope that. So those are included in that grant that we got. Well, I mean, 80% of it is included in that, covered in that grant.
Was there any speed limitation on having a crosswalk? Because it seemed to me you had to have a slower speed limit to have a crosswalk, maybe not.
Yeah, I think that the only thing that they said about the speed limit that Ian said through the engineer of V-Trans was that if you were going to reduce it to a 25, you could only do that for like a school zone and one other thing. So I don't think we even qualified for that, but I'm pretty sure that he didn't say we couldn't have a crosswalk. So that would be another question for the engineer that will come do the scoping for sidewalks and stuff.
All right.
Do you have to have a certain sort of push down speed limit to have a crosswalk where pedestrians would have the right of way? You know, like downtown Barry, right? If it wasn't 25, just because it creates, I can imagine it creating hazards, you know, on a 40 miles an hour if you had a pedestrian sidewalk.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, that's why I wondered if in order to have I didn't think of it in that way, but in order for people to cross, you wouldn't want traffic coming around my corner at 40 miles an hour.
Exactly, right.
Or even 30.
And by law, having to stop for a pedestrian.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that your corner, Gary, I think they were wanting to reduce that to like a 30 as well. Keep that a 30 until it got to the bridge.
Oh, I would think maybe even go further up past colors or something.
Yeah.
And I know Judy Tucker complains constantly about cars going zipping by her place.
Right. And even the Fitzgeralds, you know, up out of north out of town, we're saying how, you know, people are passing there, you know, going.
Well, somebody passed like 2 days ago right in front of my house. I'm standing out there with my two small kids and they were going like 65 and just passed right in front of my house. And I said, I'm going to be one of those ladies that has like the little orange person with the flag that was like, slow, kids live here.
You could be a crossing guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should do something.
Throw something in front of them.
Ping them with a little BB gun. Ping, ping, when they drive by too fast.
I get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
We could have like a giant rubber band, like they catch the like F-16s on the aircraft cruisers.
Yeah.
Down by the town offices. So they were like, whoa, I'm slowing down. I don't run backwards. Now you've got a taxi administrator. Wow, that's passing in the middle of town is that's wrong.
It's amazing.
But that is all I have for my other business this evening. Your fair passes are in envelopes on the desk for you if you didn't see them already.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You think we ought to at least contact Cal Hemingway and tell them that we haven't forgotten him because he's sent along a couple of emails and this thing here.
You want me to? I'd be happy to give this guy a call and just talk about what potential options might be.
Yeah.
Because I think almost anything to do with this, we also should be talking with Angels about.
Yeah.
That side of things, vast trails, that, you know, if we can get everybody, all the.
Right. But we haven't, I mean, he sent a couple and we haven't sent anything back.
Right. Well, because we're sort of at a point where it's not we're going to do this or we're not going to do it. We're stuck in limbo at the
But
moment.
if we could just tell them that in the next year, maybe we'll get something done or whatever.
Well, I think, you know, given the peculiarities of that trail ending too, that if we could possibly come up with, you know, I would consider discontinuing it as a legal trail if they could put in some sort of conservation easement.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Angels too, potentially, you know, that it's
perpetually open.
It's perpetually open as a right-of-way walking trail.
Yeah.
Like
something. And snowmobile too.
Exactly right. That might be a good solution.
Well, that's what I think would be great.
Yeah.
But that just takes a while.
Funny to me that they didn't throw up that whole road.
It seems amazing to me they didn't.
Because on my beers map, you know, it comes in, my father told me anyways, but it comes right down into my father's.
Right.
And that all washed out years ago.
Right.
And that's probably when they threw it up, but it just seemed weird that they never threw up the whole thing.
Right.
You know when it was thrown up?
Hmm?
You know when that side was thrown up?
No. But I can remember coming down through there with a Jeep when I was a little kid.
Through that section?
And my father's.
Yeah.
And, you know, you had the, and of course now you couldn't even think about going down through there with a Jeep.
Yeah.
So if you go onto the Angels land, can you connect to Kelsey Mountain or do you go through your property?
No.
You don't?
No, it's just above.
Where your dad's?
Yeah.
And over on the good section of the road too. I mean, not where Kelsey Mountain is all washed out.
Right.
It's
right.
over
It comes down on the top where it's good going.
Yeah.
So I'll give this guy a call.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Can't imagine anybody volunteering for
that. If we could start picking off like, okay, this legal trail it has a future and we're agreed. or not a feature, right? Because it seems to me they're all gonna have to have their own
Yeah,
treatment. There's not one
afraid of
blanket
that.
policy for all of them.
Right.
I'm afraid of that. You're right there.
And like Baptist Hill seems to be kind of low on the
Right.
everybody's radar.
And it's total wetland the
Yeah.
whole way. So I mean, it is a vast trail partly too. So,
Yeah.
But at least it's not picking people off too much
Yeah.
because nobody really uses it. I emailed Ben Wolf, haven't heard back about the
money.
heating assistance program, but I bet I'll see him at the fair, so I'll track him down.
I actually saw him at Heidi Duffy's funeral, and he said he wasn't, I can't remember how he said it, he wasn't really active in that, and he'd like someone else to do it, but he would take part. So,
Right, so we just have to get to where they're at, if they have a bank account, if there's anything in it.
Right.
Who's the most active member of it, or,
Right.
you know, right, if we're gonna, I'm sure we could, there's so many frisky people in town.
Yeah.
Who wanna do good things, it seems like we could reinvent it anyway,
Right.
or.
and nothing to do with that in particular, but Rosemary Distel sent me a email, maybe she did everybody, I didn't pay attention. She's a member of the Grange in North Tunbridge,
Yeah.
and she said they don't have any money to buy fuel, or don't have enough to buy fuel oil.
To
And
keep that
wondered if-
building heated.
Wondered if we had some sort of package with Evans or something, and we don't, so she wanted to trade with us or whatever.
Oh. So
Yeah,
can they not use that in winter then?
She said they're gonna use it off and on, but they're not gonna heat the building constantly.
Oh, okay. Other business, was that it, Mariah?
That was all I had.
I don't have any other business.
I don't have any other business. Oh, I called Maker about the furnace, haven't heard back from him. I'll try calling him again
Okay.
about cleaning.
Yeah, it's gonna be done the next month.
Yeah. I kind of hadn't thought about it till tonight.
You
Yeah.
got the signage for the transfer station being closed.
Yep.
Okay. And then following up after that, right, with the ARPA meeting.
Yep.
So did you ever hear what was wrong with the transfer station?
I didn't,
No, I didn't either.
I assume
It was working.
working,
Rob
yeah.
was there last weekend.
because
Did you ever hear, Mariah?
No.
Matt Lurch was working at it when I was there, just
Oh,
checking
good.
connections and stuff, but
Tomorrow.
Mike thought it was just a switch or
Right,
something.
yeah. A fuse maybe?
But I did talk with Mike about my idea with the little trailer, and he
Right.
said, "But unless things fill up at the end of the day, that's just fruitless to try to use that little trailer, because it just won't hold enough."
Right. Well, we must have filled up the couch roll off, you know,
At least half full.
at least half,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think we ought to fix up that little trailer with some sideboards on it, just in case at 2 o'clock things fill up, but.
We don't need to
That
rent a
isn't-
dumpster though.
Right. Unless it's one of those, what's yours, 3 yards or 5?
4 yards.
Yeah.
And how
Depends on
much
the
is it a month?
130, 140.
It's $1,500 a year. And that includes dumping it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We could still think about that,
we ought to look into that. Because if it was $1,000 a year, it might be worth it.
right?
I did reach out to Casellas about that, and I don't have it right here in front of me right now because I think it's downstairs, but it was about the price that Mike mentioned. And that was monthly for dumping, you know, for getting it picked up and
Right.
stuff. But I also asked if we could get it, if we could purchase it, and she was reaching out and gonna see if, you know, if we wanted to buy it, because say we didn't get it full and we didn't, you know, we only needed it emptied every 3 months or something, because we actually didn't use it for 3 months. So she was gonna find out about that and reach back out to me just as another option and idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pick up mine once a month, but if I get a bunch of Christmas presents and I fill it up with back, I could call them, they come, and then they charge us.
Yeah.
Not the full thing, but
Yeah.
Right.
I could make sure it's full every month. If the town had one.
If the town has one.
Yeah. Betsy, you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. Thank you. I might cut out on you, but if I do, then I have a bad connection. But I wondered if, before you make a decision on the Falls Hill Legal Trail, if there would be a discussion from other interested people in town about
For sure.
Yeah.
whether there's a viable alternative for.
I think that's why John wants to talk to the lawyer to see,
Yeah.
you know, if we can develop some plan.
All right.
You're breaking up, Betsy Beth.
Thanks for
We
your-
heard your intent.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
All right. if there's no other-
And that, hold on, that reminds me. Betsy did email me and wants to know, and again, look at me, I'm terrible. I don't have my stuff in front of me right now. But for the cleanup that the the Conservation Commission did, they had brought a bunch of tires and stuff. And for that payment, should they just go to Becky and get reimbursed, or how do you want that to work?
We'll submit a bill basically to Becky,
Right.
and then we'll put it on the
Okay.
orders and pay it.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. I will send her an email back. I'm not sure if she can hear us, but I'll let her know.
The thing is that we never paid for the tires to be dumped. We
So
just took them over there.
Oh,
And so I don't know how, there's an invoice basically, and we haven't paid for them.
don't worry about it then.
Don't worry about it.
Right.
That'll just be tallied up at some point by
Yep.
the transfer station. Okay,
Okay.
great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that's really all. That's really all I have.
If that's it, we're gonna sign the orders and then go home.
Okay.
I make a motion we adjourn so she can go home.
Yeah.
Is Oak Island on tonight?
No, I don't know when it comes back. Hopefully soon.
Comes back. Do they have a summer season or something?
No, they have well, it'll be a fall season
Okay.
from this summer's work. They'll find so much stuff, Gary. It'll be unbelievable.
All right, been a motion made and seconded.
So we gotta sign these library things and include them in the orders.
I think so. Just put them on top so
We only
Becky
have
can
to
see
sign
that
one.
you.
Approve them.
What's that?
We only have to sign one of them.
Well, there's two.
All
different
three of
programs.
us. If all three
Oh
of us.
yeah, no, you only have to sign one. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, right. Not all three copies.
Yeah.
All right, meeting is adjourned.
Hey, good evening. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. What's for supper?
Okay, let's see. Stop recording.